If there's one video game series that hits me the most in the old emotions bone, it's gotta be Kingdom Hearts. The first time I played KH1 was in my mid-teens. Kingdom Hearts 1 was released back in 2002, but my copy of the game came from a Blockbuster bargain bin after KH2 had already come out. Now I know there's a ton of videos about KH1 already out on YouTube, but I just started like a year ago, so I want to talk about one of my favorite games of all time, and I've got a lot to say. So enjoy and relax. I remember not knowing what to expect from the game other than a sick opening theme song by Hikaru Utada, Simple and Clean. A song my sister would constantly sing around the house despite never playing the game. I do remember enjoying all the AMVs that featured Simple and Clean though. You know, it's funny how memories you've long forgotten come to light simply by reflecting on a video game. An innovative and groundbreaking video game such as Kingdom Hearts. This has to be one of the greatest title screens of all time. Take a moment for that soundtrack. This is Dearly Beloved by Yoko Shimomura, a legendary composer, who also did the music for my favorite game, by the way, Super Mario RPG. You can hear the waves in the background. It's calming and gentle. It almost makes you sad, but it's uplifting and happy at the same time. It's all these different emotions all at once. Now I'm playing Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Mix, part of the bundle that came out for the PS4, otherwise the title screen would look more like this. The game is telling you what to expect from the title screen. This isn't going to be your cut and dry, happily ever after tale. It's telling you you're going to feel all kinds of emotions throughout this journey. The game is channeling your heart. After watching what would become an iconic opening cutscene song, Simple and Clean, and having my 14-year-old mind blown by the PS2's graphics, the game begins in a dark realm illuminated by the platform you're on. A gorgeous stained glass mural of Snow White. So you're a spiky-haired anime kid named Sora, and you're styled with a bunch of zippers and chains and what looks like futuristic Mickey Mouse shoes. And do not act like fingerless gloves weren't the coolest thing to wear back in the early 2000s. Okay, this is awesome. You're given the task to choose 2 of the following items that will affect the beginning stats of the game, along with what abilities you gain that complement your decision. Basically, if you want to prioritize more MP, strength, or defense as you play. The tutorial has you go through different sections featuring more Disney Princess stained glass murals. I remember playing through this the first time and feeling so uneasy because the music is ominous and mysterious, putting a 14-year-old me on edge as if something is lurking beyond the black abyss that surrounds your area. Then you're transported to a brief glimpse of Destiny Island with 3 characters waiting to talk to you. Each has a question you must answer. However, the last thing you'd expect to be asked is what you're afraid of, what's important to you, and what you want out of life. One minute you're in the abyss learning about the mechanics of the game, and the next you're thinking about your fears and desires. This game is certainly unique. By the way, the purpose of this section is just to set up how your leveling up progression will be throughout the game. Sora is then met with a shadow of himself that turns into a giant heartless known as Darkseid. Symbolism. The boss isn't difficult, but win or lose, the game will continue on. Sora wakes up on the shore of Destiny Island, realizing it was just a dream.
Or was it?
He's met by Kairi, essentially Sora's love interest, whose character and magnetism amount to almost
nothing.
Riku arrives and throws a heavy log at Sora. He's the angsty best friend and rival to Sora. Riku's basically that friend you had in high school that's always better at everything, like being cool. There's a lot of debate and shipping over who Sora actually is romantically attracted to, Kairi versus Riku. Personally, I choose to remember these are fictional children in the game and therefore prefer to leave the romance out. I mean, people can love their friends without a romantic angle. Though the story does suggest Sora has a crush on Kairi. Anyway, the 3 are planning to build a raft to leave the island and explore new worlds. Remember, these are children planning this expedition, so let's not get into the reality of how quickly they would all perish after setting sail. You can explore Destiny Island and challenge other characters to duels for some friendly competition, except Riku will always keep score and remind you of how many times you've lost to him, a way of Riku to keep his head above yours should you lose, which you will. The game certainly forces the player to relate to some of these characters. I mean, who didn't have rivals growing up? Everyone feels envious of someone for whatever reason, and Sora reflects on these experiences by always being underneath the cool guy Riku. But despite their competitiveness, they are best friends. Riku also has his own desires. He wants to know why they were on this island in the first place, and if there are other worlds out there, why did they end up on this one? A very substantial question for a 14-year-old me to ponder. I remember asking myself, why was I born in California and not somewhere else on Earth? Like Japan! We finally get our first look at some Disney characters, and this is the part when I squealed with excitement as a little kid. Starting with Donald, who is now a sorcerer in this game, making his way to see the king, Mickey Mouse, only to find the king is absent on a secret mission, and tasked Donald and Goofy, who is a knight, to find the wielder of the Keyblade and follow them. Also, let's take a moment to appreciate that Goofy is wearing the entire knight's helmet as a hat, because obviously he can't fit inside. Up to this point, you've only had two options in your command menu on screen, attack and items, which, by the way, took a sec for me to get used to, taking my thumb off of the analog stick to choose different commands on the D-pad. It's probably my one gripe with this system, but I think it's a great blend of classic RPG feel with a more modern action-adventure type game. So for now, you're stuck with this Widow Baby twee-hit combo, but just wait. It gets better and you'll be smacking Heartless into the air in no time. Although the creators are said to have been inspired by Super Mario 64 and wanting to make a fun game like that, the sort of lead-weight, clunky mechanics kind of pale in comparison to Mario 64's brilliant platforming physics. But not every game can be Mario 64. I mean, just look at those shoes. You expect him to have the acrobatic grace of an Italian plumber? The mechanics aren't perfect, but it's definitely not as terrible as some have said. In fact, after playing this game, you quickly get used to it and it becomes a non-issue. There's a hangout spot inside of a cave that Sora and Kairi used to play in. Sora, having a flashback to those days, starts to draw himself giving Kairi a Palpu fruit. For the longest time, I thought that was a shooting star. That's supposed to be an arm. An arm, my guy. Sora gets startled by a hooded figure lurking in the shadows. The figure says he's come to find the door that leads to darkness, and that this world has been connected. He basically tells Sora he don't know nothing, and Sora's like, yeah, I do. Then the hooded figure vanishes before Chris Hansen walks in to offer him a seat. Also, I just noticed that there's a chocobo drawing crossed out here on the rock, so if you're wondering if a Final Fantasy Disney game is going to feature chocobos, the answer's clearly no. You learn that the other worlds have been disappearing all of a sudden, and Donald and Goofy need to step on it to find the Keyblade Master before it gets worse. What has been this warm and relaxing safe haven suddenly morphs into a dark, cold, and dangerous place. It looks like Sora's world is about to disappear as well, but Riku seems to know what's going on. He claims he's not afraid of the dark and vanishes before Sora's eyes, leaving him confused and scared, but now holding the Keyblade, which seems to have come to him just in the nick of time. Sora finds Kairi in the cave where the door finally opens, sending Kairi flying into Sora's arms and disappears. Symbolism. Everything is falling apart when, surprise, the tutorial boss is back for revenge. After your world is destroyed and you're sucked into a black void, Sora ends up where everyone else does when their world goes poof: Traverse Town. Finally, we've come to one of my favorite worlds. I love this sleepy little town. The lights, the old European fused with Disney architecture, the warm, crooked lit signs, the Mickey Mouse hands on the directional sign, the different types of buildings, but most of all, I love this soundtrack. This is definitely my favorite track of KH1. It's a relaxing, comfy, carefree vibe that makes me want to take a night walk down a lovely, warmly lit street. I also love all these areas inside Traverse Town, like the Gizmo shop that looks like a Toontown funhouse, the fountain featuring Lady and the Tramp, the cozy home of the 101 Dalmatians, Merlin's hut, and later you even get Geppetto's workshop. Anyway, Sora, Donald, and Goofy, who haven't met yet, bump into some Final Fantasy characters. Sora gets informed on what's going on by Leon/Squall and Yuffie. Meanwhile, Donald and Goofy are simultaneously informed by Aerith. To sum up, basically darkness has been unleashed by this Ansem guy, each world is being infiltrated by Heartless, and the Keyblade is the only weapon that can lock each world's keyhole, which is essentially the only way to a world's heart. Metaphorically speaking, of course, we're not talking about a beating, blood-pumping heart, okay? So Sora has to be the one to lock each keyhole for each world because the Keyblade chose him as its master. Or did it? But Sora just wants to find his friends, so going to different worlds to look for them, while also locking keyholes at the same time, doesn't sound so bad. Donald and Goofy need to find the king, yet stick with the Keyblade also, so they decide to join up and travel together to other worlds with Sora. Finally, the gang's all here. Now we're having some real Kingdom Hearts gaming. We got Donald using his magic to attack Heartless and heal us. Goofy does some stuff, I think, but honestly I love having these guys follow you around and fight alongside you. They literally jump for joy teaming up with Sora. Just jumping. So high. Just probably could have walked around that. Just jumping, yup. Super high jumps. So the gummy ship is a topic many debate about. Some like the gummy ship part of the game, others don't. I fall on the latter in this game. I get that this is something to change up the pace and also serves as a function to do something while the next world is loading, which is totally fine. I just don't really care for the slow rail shooter, so I won't be saying much about the gummy ship. Yes, you can make it faster and more interesting with upgrades and customizing your ship, but I just want to get on with the story and exploration. If this were a game solely based on the gummy ship, then I'd be more inclined to customize and make it more enjoyable for myself. But this isn't that type of game. Finally, we get to visit some of the other worlds of Disney, starting off with Olympus Coliseum. Walking past the entrance, you meet Phil, who's busy getting ready for the games! For the games! Phil says, "You ain't a hero." Sora replies, "Yeah, I am the heroes. I got the dang's keys." So naturally, Phil has you break a bunch of barrels to prove yourself. After completing the barrels and the trials, you're basically done here, if you're not interested in more boss fights. Not that you'd be able to complete Olympus yet, you'd still have to come back later when you're a much higher level in order to actually complete this world. You need to complete every cup fighting bosses like the three-headed dog demon from Hades, Rock Titan, Ice Titan, Cloud from Final Fantasy, a ton more Heartless and bosses, and yes, even Sephiroth. If you love the combat in KH1, this is where you want to focus your time. I'd like to say that I've finished this area and beaten all the bosses before, but I just didn't have the patience for it. I just need to get good. I know it's not the hardest thing in the world, but it's pretty dang hard. Weird, I'm having deja vu for some reason. Anyway, hopefully later I'll be able to come back and finish this section, but for now, let's move on. The Deep Jungle is mostly known for its confusing layout and running back and forth to the different areas in the world. Sora gets separated from Donald and Goofy as they crash land into the jungle. Sora is met by the leopard Saber. Saber? Saber?
Saber. You sure it's Saber?
But then it's chased away by Tarzan. It's an interesting part here because Sora asks Tarzan if he's seen his friends, and for a moment starts to describe Donald and Goofy, but he catches himself because he remembers he's here to find Riku and Kairi. I like this part because it shows how quickly Sora is to accept people into his heart and just consider them his friends. He's a boy with a heart of gold, but he's still an inexperienced boy. He just met Donald and Goofy and he's already friends with them in his mind. But realistically, they probably don't feel the same towards Sora just yet. Tarzan replies to this by saying some curse words at Sora.
Huh?
We interrupt this program to bring you a special announcement from the studio. Whoa! Honey!
What? There's an earthquake?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the whole house moved.
We just had an earthquake. I think I got that on film.
Still moving.
Oh no! I love looking at the details in the background in games. I'm one who will constantly stop and look at little things in the objects on the shelves, things that the developers chose to put in the back. Let's call it set design. I love that stuff, and I do enjoy areas like Tarzan's treehouse for that reason. I also just love being in the world of Tarzan. I mean, growing up, I loved the Tarzan movie. I'm a huge Disney fan, so running around with Tarzan by your side, it's pretty cool. I can also see how confusing the layout of this world can make you feel like you're wandering through a jungle, which is great. However, that's a double-edged sword because that's also the reason why I do not like this world. This is the first time I've played KH1 in years, and during this playthrough, I had a really hard time figuring out where to go next. Call me a dumb gamer, but I really had to resort to just wandering around each area hoping to find a cutscene to trigger. Unfortunately, that does happen more than once in KH1. A couple other points for Deep Jungle is the final boss where Clayton rides a giant heartless chameleon, which truthfully was a little challenging for me. I died here a couple times. Also, did I mention there's a tree surfing part? It's actually pretty fun, and I can remember my 14-year-old self saying something along the lines of "wee" or maybe a "wahoo," you know, one of those. After you beat the boss, Kerchak yeets you out of there and Sora locks the world's heart from darkness. An interesting look into the Disney Villains Round Table here, where Jafar questions what drew the Heartless to the Deep Jungle. Maleficent tells them it was Clayton's lust for power that attracted the Heartless, but he was too greedy for his own good. I like this dynamic between the villains because it's not just any and all Disney villains team up, but only the mightiest and powerful are part of the League, whose objective is to kidnap the 7 princesses from their own Disney worlds and use them to open the door of Kingdom Hearts itself, filling every world with darkness. By the way, can I just say how much I love the voice acting in Kingdom Hearts 1? I mean, you have most of the original actors reprising their roles for these characters, and I think that's so cool. But I wonder what the next world is. This world is a shorter one, but definitely has more to do and see. I feel it's more substantial than Deep Jungle with a simpler layout. Wonderland has been criticized for its odd room-like design, but I think it's part of its charm. I like how you can see the walls and corners of each area. It doesn't hide the fact that it's a very compact space. It's exactly what you would expect from a Wonderland that isn't supposed to make sense. Sora, Donald, and Goofy witness Alice on trial. She's being accused of what the Heartless have been up to, and the Queen decides Alice is guilty. I like this part because once again, Sora shows us how he's willing to help anyone and put himself at risk without question. Even though Goofy and Donald mention that they shouldn't get involved with otherworld issues other than the Heartless. Also, why does Goofy only have one eye in this shot? The trio are tasked to finding evidence that can prove Alice's innocence. As I said before, I like the design stuff in the background, and Wonderland has a lot to look at. A lot of things are just images on a surface, which is very early 2000s for me, but I think it's done purposely here to further the bizarre vibe of Wonderland, or maybe I'm just biased. There are a ton of Heartless here, but by now you've learned more spells and abilities to make the combat more interesting. Why is it so satisfying to finish off an enemy and see them explode with health and money and MP orbs all over the place? It never gets old. Wonderland has you interact with different things in each area. It feels like one big puzzle how you figure out what action will affect another thing, and finding different entryways into the main room will put you on the floor, the walls, or even the ceiling. You gotta make a second visit to Traverse Town to talk to Leon and Sid to get some parts for your ship. You find Leon or Squall in a cave training with Aerith just watching in the background. Check out how cool Leon is. He's so cool he has to stop and pose after each swing. So cool. Hey, there's a nice little cafe in the first district. They got some magic candles. Sora learns that there's a keyhole in Traverse Town and that he needs to lock it, but first they run into Riku. He explains to Sora he doesn't know where Kairi is, but just leave everything to him, the Sigma male. But then Sora's like,
leave it to who?
This visit to Traverse Town ends with Sora defeating a mini-boss, locking the keyhole, and reconvening with Sid and Leon. Meanwhile, Riku watches from the outside with Maleficent. This is when you really see the manipulation she has over him. Yes, Riku is good, and he is trying to find Kairi also. But he's still a naive boy and allows Maleficent to convince him that Sora has moved on and found new friends, no longer caring for Riku. And this hurts him. The city. Agrabah is pretty straightforward. You get to run around the city and Cave of Wonders. Genie joins the group, who's one of the best characters in summons. Throughout the game, Sora will collect summons of different Disney characters like Simba, Genie, and Tinkerbell. Each time you summon, there will be a short cutscene which can get annoying, but it's a great way to change up the combat and also have some support, such as Tink will constantly heal you in battle, or Genie can basically go hog wild on every enemy. The game does reward the player for exploring all around. You can find hidden chests or out of reach chests, and you have to find different ways to get to some of them, and maybe even come back later once you've gained an ability to reach that chest. Sometimes they can have little things like ethers and potions. Other times they can have rare items like keyblades or collectibles like the 101 Dalmatians or some of the torn pages from the 100 Acre Woods. The rest of Agrabah has you searching for Jasmine and Jafar inside the Cave of Wonders. Again, the story changes from the original movie to fit the game's narrative, as you fight Jafar, who wants to become all-powerful and let the darkness take over rather than just ruling over Agrabah. Sora of course beats the boss, locks another keyhole, and escapes with Aladdin on a magic carpet ride, which is actually a really fun part of this game. Oh, and Riku captured Jasmine, brought her back to Maleficent, who tells him where Kairi is, as they made a deal that he would help the villains as long as he gets Kairi back. But not before you go exploring a whale's intestines in Monstro. Here, Sora finds Pinocchio and Geppetto trapped in the whale's mouth, while Pinocchio runs off after seeing Riku. I think this is a really interesting idea of the story because Riku is interested in Pinocchio because he's a living puppet, a puppet with a heart. He believes he can use Pinocchio to help Kairi, who at this point is just an empty vessel, without a heart. You can see the bitterness between Sora and Riku as they banter one another like kids, but immediately put aside their frustrations and team up when Pinocchio gets captured by the indigestion heartless boss. Whew, that stinks. You really want to go in there? Well, Riku doesn't end up taking Pinocchio after all, and everything goes swimmingly. Unlike our next world, Atlantica. This is by far the worst world in the game. Why is it that in every game the water levels are always terrible? There isn't a lot I want to say about Atlantica other than the controls are annoying, the world is uninteresting, the combat is very limited, and the music is constantly under the sea from Little Mermaid. Even at times where it shouldn't be playing, like when King Triton gets beaten to a pulp by Ursula and is slumped in pain over his chair. The man is suffering. Ursula's battle is unique in the sense that you must attack her cauldron before striking Ursula, so you need to be wise with your MP. Her second phase is basically a repetitive strategy of get up close, attack, swim away, get up close, attack, swim away, rinse and repeat. Ursula has pretty clear attack patterns, but the challenging part about this is reacting quick enough to dodge her lightning bolts. It's kind of a precursor to the Ansem boat cruise battle at the end of the game. Speaking of boats, the Jolly Roger captures the crew and forces them aboard. We're now in Neverland. Riku surprises Sora aboard the ship and taunts him like a jealous ex-best friend, revealing an empty Kairi behind him. Riku shows off his new power to control the Heartless, gifted by Maleficent. Sora goes,
"You're stupid!"
Then Riku drops him below deck. Sora, Donald, and Goofy are in good spirits for finding Kairi despite their predicament. Peter Pan emerges from the shadows to introduce himself as
I'm the answer to your prayers.
and is definitely not a creepy 35-year-old posing as a young child. Fighting aboard the Jolly Roger is one of the highlights for me in KH1. I really enjoy in each world the Heartless change their look to reflect the environment they're in, and being on the pirate ship, they look the part here too. You also battle Sora's Shadow here, which is one of the more satisfying bosses in my opinion. I like the Keyblade versus Shadow Keyblade combat. KH1's style of combat is very enjoyable. It may not be as great as KH2's gameplay, but the balance of Sora's limited attacks, combos, and using magic on the fly are what give this game a very satisfying challenge. If it were too easy, it would be soulless and boring. Too hard and you're just getting frustrated without reward. The final segment on the Jolly Roger is one of my favorite parts. Sora effortlessly learns to fly. Heartless are everywhere, it's chaotic and a lot of fun. Also, Peter Pan does this creepy death stare at Hook. So then you're at the clock tower to lock the keyhole. You get to have this moment of just flying around and having fun. I remember playing this part for the first time and just soaring through the air accompanied by this uplifting and happy track. I mean, who doesn't want to fly around? This area also serves as an arena for an optional boss fight if that's your cup of tea, but I just love that the game added this little flying around part in. Finally, we get to see what's probably everyone's favorite world, Halloween Town. Right off the bat, we have the best designs for Sora, Donald, and Goofy. Frank and Goofy over here rocking the bald hat, pumpkin nose like Zero. Donald over here wrapped up in fashionable 2-ply with a non-existent belly reveal. Then we got Sora over here rocking the kawaii pumpkin mask, Saiyan armor gloves, tiny bat wings like his Riz level is over 9,000. Moving down over to the crisscross applesauce leggings to the night version Sonic the Hedgehog shoes. The cool thing about Halloween Town you first notice are the Heartless all around that you can't attack, because they perfectly fit into this world. Of course they're right at home, and the people of Halloween Town already know of the existence of Heartless and are not afraid. You realize that the scattered Heartless are part of the performance Jack Skellington is rehearsing. Jack and the Doctor are trying to give the Heartless a new heart made from different ingredients for the purpose of being more lively during the performance, but the experiment fails. Exploring Halloween Town, the graveyard, Oogie Boogie's hideout, alongside with Jack is such a treat. As a big fan of Nightmare Before Christmas, I remember being ecstatic that you could actually have Jack join your party. Getting to see these different areas from the movie, like walking across the famous curling hill in the graveyard, and seeing Zero up close is what I always look forward to. Oogie's boss battle is one of the easiest in KH1, as you run around dodging attacks and wait for the buttons on the floor to light up. Jumping on the closest one to Oogie will raise the platform, giving you a chance to cause some damage. Oogie's second phase is equally as easy, as you just find all the dark blobs around, destroy them, and you're done. Then Sora finds the keyhole and locks it. Jack pays attention to Sally for once, and all is well. This is a good point to revisit any of the other worlds before heading to the final stage, Hollow Bastion. It's not required that you revisit the other worlds, but by now Sora has new abilities to reach different areas you couldn't before. And also you can search for more Trinity markers that you might be able to perform now as well. Hollow Bastion is my favorite part of KH1. So much happens here in terms of story, combat, vast level design, and also my favorite Disney character makes an appearance, the Beast. Which, by the way, he did not get to Hollow Bastion by ship, magic, or portal. He simply willed himself to be there. Beast lost his world along with Belle, and he believed so deeply that he would save her that he physically manifested himself to Hollow Bastion. And that's no joke. That's canon. Sora interrupts a fight between Riku and the Beast and receives what I call Sora's moment of despair. Riku taunts Sora for being late, reminding him that he's still the faster and stronger one. Riku also declares himself as the true master of the Keyblade and takes it from Sora, revealing that Riku has always been the Keyblade's first choice. There's a lot more to the story about why Riku was the Keyblade's first choice, but just go with it for now. Sora, standing there in shock with all the confidence he's built up within himself over the adventures he's had with Donald and Goofy, is now shattered. Riku throws him the wooden sword they used to play with as kids, as a symbol that Sora is just as weak as he was from the start. And to top it all off, Donald and Goofy, whose orders from the king are to stick with the Keyblade, leave Sora for Riku. Sora is absolutely crushed at this moment. What he thought were his new best friends were just with him because of the Keyblade. Remember, Donald and Goofy have a job to do. They like Sora, but they don't consider him a friend as much as Sora does. This moment is a valuable lesson for Sora. Most of us can relate to this because I think we've all experienced what it's like losing friends, or maybe even realized that you weren't a core member of your friend group as you thought you were. Similar to Sora in this moment, realizing his idea of the three of them being BFFs was just his perception. Sora notices the Beast getting up with determination to save Belle. Beast explains even though he's alone, he will never stop fighting for Belle no matter what. I mean, who better to be an example of inner strength than the loneliest character of Disney, the Beast? Inspired by the Beast, Sora takes up the wooden sword, knowing it's powerless to the Heartless, and decides to fight for Kairi no matter what. This segment of KH1 is so freaking cool. Basically, you're powerless to the Heartless as you and Beast infiltrate the castle. You can still use magic, but for the most part, you have to rely on the Beast to take down all the enemies. It's like a reverse escort mission. I thought this was really clever for gameplay. I also love the design of Hollow Bastion. It's vast castle grounds with many rooms and areas to explore, combined with twisted and bare sections exposing what's underneath the pretty white stone structure. It gives a sense of a vibrant castle that once was. A castle to a city that's long gone, now home to darkness. Sora ends up facing against Riku once again to save Kairi. Riku tries to attack Sora but is deflected by none other than Goofy. Donald joins Goofy as they both decide although Riku is the master of the Keyblade, betraying Sora is not something they can do. I can't imagine the feeling of relief Sora feels in this moment, but nevertheless, he shows that he's determined to fight and do the right thing even without the Keyblade, because his strength comes from his friends who believe in him. Hearing this display of resolve and strength in Sora's heart, the Keyblade abandons Riku for Sora, confirming that Sora is now the true wielder of the Keyblade. Then Sora kicks Riku's butt. So, remember this hooded guy? He's Ansem. Well, what remains of Ansem? The TLDR is, he's kinda like Voldemort from Harry Potter. Ansem is kinda a walking heart at this point, a spectral of his life force lingering on, who needs to possess someone powerful with darkness to live on. So that's what he does to Riku, but it's because of Riku's willingness and desire to be stronger, even in darkness, that allows Ansem to possess him. From here on out, the difficulty goes way up, and you gotta be on your best game because you're fighting against Dragon Maleficent with her constant, green fire-breathing, 6th form jutsu. I certainly died here a lot and just managed to beat her by using the Tinkerbell summon. I'm not even going to pretend it was easy. Following this is the best boss fight in the story, just Keyblade versus Keyblade. Riku, who's now possessed by Ansem, needs Kairi to regain her heart to open the door to darkness. Ansem is wielding a dark Keyblade that has the power to unleash one's heart. He tells Sora that Kairi's heart is within him.
Kairi's inside me?
Remember this part? Well, Kairi didn't just vanish. Her heart got transported into Sora, and it's been there this whole time. It's so satisfying to just go all out with Riku, trying to counter and block attacks while dodging out of the way and using magic at the right moments. It's just a great battle, and not an easy one, mind you, but definitely one that will take a couple tries to finish. But it's so rewarding when you finally do. Sora realizes he needs to use the Keyblade that unleashes hearts on himself to set Kairi free. The act of selfless sacrifice shatters the Keyblade and frees the hearts of all the Disney princesses within it. Kairi's heart leaves Sora and returns to her. Unfortunately, this act also removes Sora's heart, which, as you know, when someone loses their heart, the heart becomes a heartless and the body becomes a nobody. But that's a story for another time. So now you play as Sora's Heartless, another way KH1 switches up the gameplay. I gotta say, the most unique parts of this game really come in Hollow Bastion. Kairi actually recognizes Sora and embraces him and restores Sora's physical form from the pure light of Kairi's heart. The final world you visit is appropriately named End of the World, a heartless world created from all the other destroyed worlds from darkness. This is a non-stop, high-octane, keyblade swinging, boss battling nightmare in a good way. It's equally as badass and fun as it is frustratingly difficult. You go through wave after wave of heartless and mini-bosses. My thumb was so cramped by the end of this I feared I may never game again. But I pressed on and toughened up and pulled through like a champ. That's right, after dying 100 times in this world, I said no on the 100th and 1th time and made it through. By the way, fighting Chernobog in this abyss-like arena was so scary for my 14-year-old self, but I love that the developers included the music Night on Bald Mountain for this fight. It screams epic. Also, while I was in this room, I had the strangest feeling like I've seen this portal thing on the wall here before. It's on the tip of my tongue. Alright, so the Ansem fights will definitely cost you some lives. The first timers will have no clue which attack Ansem does what, and what effect it'll have. Like this really annoying side swipe that causes Sora to take damage multiple times and basically stuns you for a short time. I wouldn't say it's unfair, only that you need to get good at reading Ansem's patterns and know when to strike or evade in a split second. Oh, and this is just the first phase. Because guess who's back? That's right, if you didn't enjoy the first 2 battles with the tutorial boss, well here's a third. That's right, you get Darkseid for breakfast, and for lunch, and for dinner, and oh, it's over. Well, that was quick. The second Ansem phase is more fun in my opinion. Ansem has some new moves like this Bison Psycho Crusher combo that feels really good when you deflect it at just the right moment, stunning Ansem and giving you a chance to wail on him. Not that I have footage doing so, because I stupidly stopped recording after the first couple attempts. The third phase is the infamous Ansem Disney cruise ship from hell. I don't know what the artists were thinking when they thought of this one, but you gotta give them props for coming up with a demon space boat. The battle is pretty simple at first. You just gotta hide behind him here as he does this little parade twirl. But shit hits the fan once he starts to spam these dang lasers. My god, get ready to have some patience because you're gonna be flying around dodging these beams for a small window to deal some damage. Hooray! You beat the boss. Psych, because now you're gonna have to fight some more Heartless in total darkness. Ooh. And while you're at that, it's only natural to smack these little blasting blemishes off the demon cruise ship. After that, you can't leave without beating off the head. You just gotta whack the tip until Well, glad that's over. But wait, there's more! How about another round of fighting Heartless in the dark? Why, thank you, I couldn't get enough. Finally, it's over. Hang on, can't forget about the little sad tummy. Gotta kill that too. See, you can't expect to just fight Ansem 3 times, wave after wave of Heartless, beat off the head, and leave, do you? Phew. Finally, it's over. Wow, that was a lot. I think, oh, you gotta be kidding me. I don't want to do this anymore. Make it stop. And after all that, Ansem is totally fine. In fact, he's well enough to open the door to Kingdom Hearts anyway. But turns out he was wrong about Kingdom Hearts being supreme darkness. Because Kingdom Hearts actually opens up to pure light. And in the end, it was light that defeated Ansem, not us. Light! Okay, one more time. It never gets old. Sora then runs to close the door because it's not just light in there. A ton of Heartless are emerging to take this world. Riku appears to have already been in this dark side of the door along with King Mickey, who tells the rest it's okay to close the door, leaving himself and Riku inside, because there will always be a way out. Now remember what was said in the early game. If Sora defeats Ansem and saves the worlds from Heartless, the worlds will be restored, but no longer connected. Sora then spots Kairi on a part of Destiny Island drifting away. Sora can't follow her now, but isn't in despair because of it. He went out to save Kairi no matter what. He, and Riku a little bit, accomplished Kairi's safety. Sora and Riku, however, don't get a happy ending. It's a bittersweet moment that leaves the player happy for Sora for achieving his goal, but with a sense of sorrow because he can't enjoy his triumph. Who knows when he'll see her and Riku again? But it's like Sora said.
I've become part of their heart just as they've become a part of mine. And if they think of me now and then, if they don't forget me, then our hearts will be one. I don't need a weapon. My friends are my power.
Kingdom Hearts is one of those games that created something much bigger than itself. One thing you can't do is put Kingdom Hearts under a single lens and label it as one thing. Points can be made that shine a light on what Kingdom Hearts suffers in quality and gameplay, and points can be made to shine a light on the good and the fun of Kingdom Hearts. I do think it is important to judge a game for the time it came out and not compare it to currently released games. However, I think Kingdom Hearts is not just about the gameplay, or the extremely confusing and complicated story. It's kinda telling you in the title. A heart is a mixed bag of emotions, challenges, light and dark, and it's very confusing and complicated too. No heart is perfect, just like no game is perfect, except Super Mario RPG, of course. But I think the reason why people love Kingdom Hearts so much is because they connect with it in some way. They can see themselves in aspects of the different characters and relate to certain things that happen in the story. There are a lot of relatable obstacles that Sora goes through that definitely triggers some emotions and memories for me. I don't know, maybe I sound really cringe for saying all this at the end, but I'm just speaking from the heart. Later.